The psychedelic terrain is one of humanity's greatest mysteries. Modern science is just beginning to scratch the surface. Yet, a few musicians have already opened the gates to psychedelic realms. Tame Impala, Pink Floyd, Jimi Hendrix. These artists have become synonymous with psychedelia. The mind-bending sounds, transfixing tones of their music create an uncanny connection to the psychedelic dimension. Why is that? Science's most esteemed circles have tried answering this, ranging from Johns Hopkins University's playlist for psychedelic trips to the National Institute of Health's groundbreaking studies into musical psychedelic therapy. Lucky for you, though, we may just have cracked the code. Get ready as we go down the rabbit hole of consciousness, revealing the secret pathways to musical psychedelia. We'll start with a quick and easy analysis of sound physics, examples of psychedelic sounds, and an explanation as to why they sound quote-unquote psychedelic. All sounds are waves comprised of three basic elements. 1. Volume. How loud or quiet a sound is determined by the height of a wave's amplitude. 2. Pitch. How high or low a sound is determined by the distance between each cycle of the sound wave, also known as the frequency. The less distance between cycles, i.e., the more cycles per second, the higher in pitch a sound is. And 3. Tone. The general character of a sound determined by the sound wave's physical shape. Here's an example. The first sound is buzzier and less smooth than the second sound because the sound wave is less rounded. Through specific types of manipulation to these elements, psychedelic sounds can be created. Here's an example from a modern psychedelic pioneer, Tame Impala. Arguably one of Kevin Parker's most psychedelic songs, the name itself is based on hallucinations from inhaling helium. The essence of its mind-altering character comes from the song's main synth chords. I've gone ahead and recreated the sound so that we can step-by-step analyze when it kicks into its psychedelic gears. We start off with getting the right notes of the chords, aka the right pitches. But nothing here sounds psychedelic. Then we get the proper sound tone using a sawtooth wave shape. Sounds brighter and buzzier, but nothing quite psychedelic yet. However, when I manipulate the sound like this, now you feel the shrooms kicking in. So what exactly did I do? You may think I'm just turning the volume up and down, but I'm actually using a tool called a filter to manipulate the tone. The sound wave we started with, a sine wave, is the only wave shape that purely emits the sound's individual pitch or frequency. When we changed the sine wave into a sawtooth wave, we added in subtle, extraneous higher and lower frequency information to the sound. This is a natural byproduct of altering sound wave shapes. Filters allow us to remove a sound's higher or lower frequencies, resulting in alterations to the tone. To achieve the Nang's synth sound, I made the filter gradually remove and add back in the sound's frequencies, starting from the highest one. Finally, we set this filter movement to occur fast and cyclically, giving us quite a trippy result. These types of cyclical movements, aka oscillations, are a quintessential part of psychedelic sounds. A paper published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences points to a common phenomenon of body pulsations felt among psychedelic users. The cause of this? High frequency and low frequency oscillations in the motor cortex. This just so happens to be the same exact filter movement that made the Nang's chords sound psychedelic. The senses, including our auditory sensibilities, thus come to conflate oscillating and cyclical stimuli to a psychedelic experience. Another famous case of this is reflected not just in the tone, but also the pitch. Introduce On the Run from Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. No mention of psychedelic music is complete without a reference to Pink Floyd. And if you're ever looking to hear what a bad trip sounds like, this is the song for you. The main consistent sound in the song is a fast-paced series of oscillating pitches. In musical terms, this is called an arpeggio. This arpeggio carries throughout the song and is paired with gradual changes to the tone via the opening and closing of a filter. The anxiety-inducing nature of On the Run comes from its rapid speed. The song is moving at 165 beats per minute, roughly 2.5 times faster than a normal resting heartbeat. Your heart starts to race, pupils dilate, the hairs on the back of your neck start to stand up. All experiences synonymous with an anxious trip. But when we slow the pace of pitch changes way down, oddly enough, we still get a sound equally as psychedelic. Let's look at two examples 50 years apart from one another. See in the Sky with Diamonds is a staple of psychedelic music, in part due to the song's name being an acronym for LSD. It's part of the Beatles' esoteric discography turn following their introduction to psychedelics. Likewise, Inner Bloom has been widely lauded as a masterful whirling and swirling modern-day electronic composition fit to take the listener on a journey through altered consciousness. The link between these songs lies in the lead melodies, specifically their slow pitch bends. For example, here's the Inner Bloom sound without its pitch bends. Now here it is with the pitch bends. Much trippier. In the International Journal of Pharmacology, a study published indicates that the interaction of music and psychedelics led to change in time-varying brain activity. Our ability to perceive time smoothly and linearly runs into disruptions and delays. Remember, pitch is a time-based element. It can be thought of as how many cycles per second the sound wave goes through. If our ability to perceive how long a second is runs into disruption during a psychedelic experience, then our ability to perceive pitch follows suit. Therefore, subtle pitch bends in a sound evoke the same time disruption phenomenon natural to a psychedelic state of mind. Delayed sound effects are also prominently used for this reason. In Tame Impala's Be Above It, you can hear how the drums have a slightly metallic sound due to a short delay that's been used. This directly emulates the psychedelic time variance effect, not just on one specific element of the sound, but across the entire sound. We slowed the pace of pitch change way down and still landed on a psychedelic sound. Would the same hold true for tone? Let's ask Jimi Hendrix. In our last documentary, we touched on the immense influence of Hendrix's artistry. Specifically, within Psychedelia, Jimi pioneered the use of its most tried and trusted tool, the phaser. You hear all that swirling motion in the tone of the guitars? That's what a phaser does. Even me just putting my own voice through a phaser sounds pretty mind-melting. So how does a phaser work? Well, it's like the filter effect in Nangs. For Nangs, we took one hard-pass filter that started at the highest frequency and slowly scooped out every frequency in its way as it moved back and forth. A phaser, on the other hand, uses a set of notches to filter individual frequencies. These notches slowly move back and forth, creating a swirly, whooshing tone. Maastricht University published findings indicating that psychedelic modulations often result in disturbances of viewed light, leading to the famous wavy and fractally psychedelic visuals. Light, just like sound, is waves. Similar to how light waves become distorted sound waves become distorted for psychedelic users. This same distortion of sound waves happens when a phaser is used. If you look at this graph of a sound wave with a phaser on, you can see the wave distortion occur. The brain forms an association with these kinds of wave distortions, whether it be visual or audio, to psychedelic experiences. There are so many more rabbit holes of psychedelic sounds we can venture down. Different distortion effects, reverb units, a whole host of musical psychedelia remains out there. But what we've uncovered today are the fundamental building blocks to psychedelic sounds and how you can go about creating many of them. If you like this video, let us know in the comments, and perhaps we can make part 2 exploring even crazier sciences to the sounds of psychedelics.